Good evening. It's Saturday the 10th of December and it's time for the news on RIK2. It goes without saying that the Republic of Cyprus, as a relevant party, will participate in the January 12th conference in Geneva on the Cyprus problem. This is what Deputy Government Spokesman Viktoras Papadopoulos said in a written statement today in response to claims by Turkish Cypriot leader Mustafa Kemal's spokesman Barış Burkul. Burkul had said that what has been agreed regarding the January 12th meeting was that it would comprise the two sides, Greek Cypriots and Turkish Cypriots, and the three guarantor powers, which are Greece, Turkey and the United Kingdom. Papadopoulos also said, as a relevant party, the Cyprus Republic shall be present, since it is a conference, after all, that aims, among other things, to amend international treaties which concern the Republic. It is equally important, he continued, to ensure the presence of the EU to which Cyprus belongs. In addition, the UN and the Security Council must also be present, since it will be called upon, through a strong resolution, to adopt anything that may be eventually agreed and subsequently secure implementation of the agreement. The CIA has concluded that Russia intervened in the 2016 election to help President-elect Donald Trump win the White House, and not just to undermine confidence in the U.S. electoral system. U.S. intelligence agencies have assessed that as of the 2016 presidential campaign drew on, Russian government officials devoted increasing attention to assisting Donald Trump's effort to win the election. Citing U.S. officials briefed on the matter, the Washington Post has also reported that intelligence agencies had identified individuals with connections to the Russian government who provided thousands of hacked emails. The emails were from the Democratic National Committee and others, including the chairman of Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign, to WikiLeaks. As summer turned to fall, Russian hackers turned almost all of their attention to the Democrats. Virtually all the emails they released publicly were potentially damaging to Clinton and the Democrats. Russian officials have denied all accusations of interference in the U.S. election. Backers of the Syrian opposition have appeared resigned to the fall of eastern Aleppo, with the United States pleading Moscow to show grace when officials meet in Geneva to try to reach a deal for civilians and fighters to leave the city. Syrian government and allied forces have in the last 2 weeks driven rebels from most of their territory in what was once Syria's most populous city. The rebels have controlled the eastern section since 2012, and President Bashar al-Assad said in an interview published on Thursday that retaking Aleppo would change the course of the civil war across the whole country. Critics of the operation have warned that thousands of civilians risk being caught in the crossfire and have repeatedly called on Syrian government forces and its backers to accept a ceasefire to at least allow corridors for civilians and rebel fighters to leave to safer areas. Speaking in Paris after a meeting of countries that oppose Assad, including France, Britain, Turkey and Saudi Arabia, an exasperated Kerry showed little optimism for today's US and Russian talks in Geneva. Colombian President Juan Manuel Santos today said an accord to end a 52-year civil war with Marxist rebels was a ray of hope for solving conflicts from Syria to South Sudan, as he collected the Nobel Peace Prize. In an acceptance speech that quoted an anti-war song by Bob Dylan, the 2016 Literature Laureate Santos said Colombia itself had drawn inspiration from other peace processes such as those in South Africa and Northern Ireland. Santos collected the prize, a gold medal, diploma and a cheque for 8 million Swedish crowns at a ceremony in Oslo City Hall for his efforts to end the conflict with Marxist FARC rebels, in which 220,000 people died. The rebel Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia were not invited, except for a Spanish lawyer to represent them. The audience applauded a group of about 10 victims attending the ceremony after they stood when Santos introduced them. The Solomon Islands plans to dispatch emergency supplies to areas affected by a 6.9 magnitude aftershock, a day after a much larger tremor triggered a tsunami warning that sent hundreds of coastal people fleeing into the hills. The supply boat could take almost 24 hours to reach Makira Island, which lies close to the epicenter of yesterday's deeper 7.8 magnitude earthquake. Both quakes triggered tsunami warnings, which were lifted a short time later. And now a look at tomorrow's weather. Mostly clear skies with light to moderate southwesterly to northwesterly winds, force 3 to 4. The sea will be slight. Temperatures will rise to 19 Celsius inland and in coastal areas and 10 over the mountains. Cloudy spells are expected on Monday and Tuesday, leading to local rain and isolated showers as temperatures will slightly drop. That's all for today. Join us tomorrow again for more news in English. Have a very good evening.